Hi YouTube, my name is Evan and I am an expecting father. I'm not normally one to make videos, nor have I really made any before in the past, so I ask that you bear with me on any shortcomings that I have here, please. Um, so I'm not making this video for myself or even for my wife. It's certainly a tribute to her and her journey and the warrior that it's molded her into, but I'm making this video for other expecting fathers and future expecting fathers who might have something in common with me when it comes to their wife or significant other. And that commonality is that my wife has Hyperemesis Gravidarum. I know this is a wild name for a pregnancy condition, right? It sounds like a Harry Potter spell, but I can assure you that it is nowhere near as fun as a Harry Potter spell. And for simplicity's sake, for the remainder of the video, I'll refer to it by its street name, HG. And if you don't know HG, well, she's a straight thug. She'll take away your happiness, she'll drain your energy, your attitude, and she honestly doesn't know when to stop. And I'm hoping that by sharing my experiences, some fathers are able to get ahead of the game as far as expectations and how to even help your wife or significant other navigate through this tough time. So my first tip is really simple. It's listen to mom. Because if she's like my wife, she's spent days in bed, and when she has the energy, she's Googling and reading up on what's happening to her. Think of her as someone who has read everything on the internet about this topic. She's saved you a bunch of times, so really take everything she says to heart. Back in the day, we read that HG really wasn't taken so seriously. Women who had HG were often thought of as weak or simply seeking attention when that's just not the case. Right? Before I get into the symptoms, I think the one thing to really know about HG is that there is no cure. And while there's certain explanations out there on what's causing these symptoms of HG, there's no way to avoid it or to get ahead of it if HG has truly chosen you. So there's medications that attempt to lessen the symptoms to the point where you can go on with some of the daily activities in your life. But of course, these medications, they come with side effects for both mom and baby. And most likely, she'll have to take some over-the-counter meds also to combat those side effects. Personally, at one time, I can recall my wife taking 7 to 8 medications a day to make it through the day, or to just be able to eat a piece of bread or drink, and ensure. I think a really big piece of knowing your enemy, your obstacle, your challenges, knowing exactly how long they'll be around. And for us, HG came about 1 month into the pregnancy, and it has not left as we enter month 6. The experiences that we read about from other mothers online say that HG is going to stay with you all the way until your child is born, right? Our OB didn't say that to us, exactly, but we feel that she did the right thing by asking us to mentally prepare for this possibility. So the symptoms of HG are, there's severe nausea and vomiting. Mom is going to feel faint and dizzy also. So similar to the normal morning sickness symptoms that we all hear about affecting most pregnant women, except this is not morning sickness. This is exponentially more severe, and at heavier times, it affects her every minute that she is awake during the day. So initially, we tried to stay mentally strong, reminding ourselves that these symptoms mean that she's creating pregnancy hormones and that the baby's growing. But unfortunately, we found out pretty quickly that HG requires much more than a positive attitude. And this leads me to tip number 2. It was a little difficult to accept that there's really no way around taking medications if mom has HG. From what we've read, it can lead to death in mothers if left untreated, and that makes total sense to me, right? Because even on medications, her levels will vary from day to day depending on how bad her HG is. And if my wife can eat a cookie a day for food while on medications, often taking in at most a few hundred calories a day, I can only imagine how little she'd be able to eat without the meds. And at the end of her first trimester, we checked and she had lost 25 pounds off her normal body weight. Definitely not ideal for a pregnant woman. Multiple occasions we had to visit an urgent care facility and entertain the option of the possibility of being put on IVs. But luckily each time my wife has been able to stomach enough Pedialyte to prevent her body from going to severe dehydration. So, no one wants to be on the medication, but it was simply needed for my wife to be able to eat a little bit of food, because ultimately mom's health is most important for baby's health. I think everyone with HG is prescribed Zofran at one point or another, to address the nausea and vomiting. It's typically used in conjunction with other medication, and it did take us a couple tries to find the right combination that worked for us. The thing about Zofran is that it relieves some of the nausea and vomiting, but it comes with side effects such as headaches, tiredness, and constipation. Now, I don't know if you've ever experienced constipation for over a week. I certainly have not, but I can tell you it looks like torture. Stool softeners like Colace and laxatives like Miralax, they don't kick in immediately. And at this point, the risk of hemorrhoids and fecal impaction, it becomes very real. And it will require the physical removal of hardened stool from your bowel. It's literally torture. And, I'll never forget the sounds of my wife wailing in pain as a result of this. And when I hear this, it certainly tortures me also, because there's so little that I can do to help her in this situation except to give her what she needs. And in a time like this, it's actually emotional support, because while this seemingly endless cycle of torture is obviously physically debilitating, I'd argue that it's even more mentally and emotionally painful, especially if mom is susceptible to depression and anxiety coupled with medication dependency. It's just really not an ideal mix for anyone. So the experience can leave you mentally crippled. We read about personal experiences where the condition gets so severe that moms contemplate terminating their pregnancy, and we all know that's the last thing anyone wants to do if they can help it. So leading me to point number 3, fathers, you're going to have to be mom's emotional rock the entire way. Getting her everything she needs, picking up the slack around the house, and doing small things to help her daily, that's all a given. That's the easy part. What no one really warns you about is how to manage all the attention from friends and family when mom is laying in bed every day, praying that this endless torture to her body is going to stop. Everyone's going to ask, how's she doing? Right? And in this situation, there's no need to downplay it. There's no need to get super detailed either. Just let them know that it's a tough time. We're going to get through it, and for them to continue thinking positive thoughts for you. I can tell you, when mom is miserable, the very last thing that she feels like doing is answering 15 text messages asking her if she's feeling better, especially if she is not. And I completely understand, right? These friends and family members, they're coming from a really good place, right? And they're asking out of genuine concern. But when that depression hits you, each message, it can be a tiny reminder that you're not feeling better, and you really have no idea when and if you'll be feeling better anytime soon. So the perfect thing to text someone, going through HG is, I'm thinking about you and I'm hoping you feel better really soon. The absolute worst thing someone, typically it's going to be a mother who's had kids before, can tell, mom is, don't worry, this is going to go away after the first trimester. Because they're taking their normal pregnancy experience and they're generalizing it over your situation. And if you've already told them that you're struggling, this is basically then, saying that you're weak, you're exaggerating your pregnancy symptoms. Personally, I've learned to shut down comments like this pretty well, mainly so that mom doesn't have to, because everyone's pregnancy experience is different, and you can't let others trivialize what is happening to mom because it didn't happen to them. So this is where fathers really need to understand the situation and validate and advocate for moms with HG. What am I leaving out? Okay, yeah. I know everyone is, going to suggest that ginger would be a remedy to her symptoms, as if you didn't have an OB or the internet. Again, also coming from a good place. But honestly, right, if prescription drugs don't fully help, she's not going to feel any better from ginger tea, even though, it gives your house a nice smell. I'd say the thing that makes me extra sad personally is when I think about the times leading up to when we decided to have a child, where my wife has talked about having a little girl, dressing her up in matching outfits, giving her all the things that my wife never had as a kid. And HG just gets you so mentally that you can't even get excited about those things. And you can't make plans for your baby. And it's just really sad when I see my wife spend most of that time miserable and bedridden during the time that most moms consider to be the enjoyable aspects of being pregnant. I highly, highly recommend expecting parents to check out Amy Schumer's HBO special about her pregnancy. Her and her husband really open up, and they give the viewers a down and dirty look at the beast that is HG. Everyone's experience is going to be a little different, of course, right? But I don't think they exaggerated or downplayed any aspect of their journey. If you look it up on IMDb or something, it probably only has a 6 out of 10 rating. And maybe I'm more invested because we're expecting parents, but I really enjoyed it through and through. I haven't seen much Amy Schumer's work prior to this, but I can tell you I left an Amy Schumer fan. So before I wrap this up, I'll leave you with a bit of a warning message. You're going to experience maybe times in the pregnancy where you're thinking, hey, she's had a pretty decent week or two. The symptoms have been minimal. She's been able to get out of bed in the morning, able to go to work. She's able to eat certain things again. She's finally able to enjoy the thought about being a mom and buying things and making plans for her and her baby. But HG is like that one relative that we all have. They'll just show up without warning, and you'll witness a really real regression. So I guess tip number 4 is to not let your guard down just because you experience some good times. So I guess my last message to all the expecting fathers with moms going through HG is, be loving, be accommodating, and be her advocate, because anything extra that we have to take on, it doesn't even come close to what mom has to do. We definitely got the long end of the stick on this one, fellas. There's online resources out there such as the Her Foundation, Facebook support groups. These are all priceless for anyone going through HG. May 15th is HG Awareness Day, and it also is my beautiful wife's birthday. Good luck out there, and God bless you and your journey.